In all human endeavor, a standard emerges, which becomes the measure of ultimate excellence. And in the realm of color photographic prints, there is one standard of excellence against which all other methods are measured: the dye transfer print, as made by LaClaire. A great deal of skill is involved in the making of a dye transfer photograph. It's a rare and expensive technique, an elaborate and time-consuming process, but one that creates a print of incomparable richness, great permanence, and exquisite subtlety. No other color printing method completes the creative process as well as the dye transfer. In the 1930s and 40s, Maurice LaClaire worked with the Kodak Company in perfecting the dye transfer process. Since that time, the traditional LaClaire portrait, as produced by David LaClaire, has continued to extend the expressive possibilities of this process, creating an unrivaled reputation for excellence in the use of dye transfer. The process begins by making a conventional color negative or transparency. Perhaps conventional is too modest a word. This is where the concept of the image is created. All of LaClaire's ability, years of technical experience, sense of place, and understanding of what the subject wants to convey are brought into focus and frozen in silver in a fraction of a second. The dye transfer process begins by taking the photographer's color negative or transparency and making 3 black and white negatives, each exposed with a red, green, or blue light source. This is done to record the various densities of each of the primary colors in the picture. We call these black and white records separation negatives. In addition to these 3 primary color separation negatives, up to a half-dozen color correction and contrast masks are produced to achieve a perfect reproduction. These masks and separation negatives provide exceptional control of scale, contrast, and color fidelity. By retaining the separation negatives, the image can be recreated generations from now with the original's brilliance. These negatives are registered on pins in a film carrier that is locked into an enlarger. The image is enlarged onto sheets of silver-rich, colorless film called a matrix that is the exact size of the finished portrait. One matrix is made from each of the 3 separation negatives. They're hand-processed one at a time in trays and will require up to several gallons of developer for each matrix, depending on size. After drying, these matrix are submerged in a special, high-quality dye until the gelatin reaches the point of saturation. 3 dyes are used: cyan, magenta, and yellow, each with its own matrix. While the matrix are soaking, the technician prepares the paper by placing it on a slab of very smooth, flat granite. The paper is specially manufactured with the finest grade of materials to produce the whitest possible paper. Each matrix is taken from the dye, and the excess dye is removed with great care. The matrix is secured to the registration pins and is rolled into contact with the special paper. Then the dye transfers to the paper, one color at a time, much the same way that fine lithographs or engravings are made. It takes 3 to 5 minutes for the dye to transfer to the paper, just time enough to prepare the next matrix. The whole process takes 8 to 10 hours to achieve the perfect print. Additional prints can be made from the same set of matrices. The final print is personally inspected by David LaClaire. Another advantage of the dye transfer print is the ease and scope of retouching that's possible. Because all the colors are mixed in a single emulsion or layer, changes in the image, such as softening lines, removing blemishes, and enhancing highlights, are invisible. Because retouching dyes are the same as the printing dyes, alterations never show. After the retouching is complete, the print is protected by a heavy coat of lacquer. The resulting LaClaire portrait is a luminous image. No other color printing method completes the creative process as well as dye transfer. The dye transfer process gives almost complete control to the photographer. Its near-perfect fidelity and versatile control of color and scale are incomparable. Every tone and detail can be rendered with a painterly beauty rivaling history's great museum portraits. This brief instant captures a moment that will never happen again. Years, generations from now, your family, friends, or associates will look at this instant and feel a sense of history, comfort, or love. This is a record and a waypoint in history. The history of a family, the history of a business, the celebration of an accomplishment, or a lifelong union of two people. The Kodak dye transfer print requires a great deal of skill. It's a rare and expensive technique, an elaborate and time-consuming process, but one that creates a print of incomparable richness, great permanence, and exquisite subtlety. The dye transfer print, as made by LaClaire, is a gift to the future, a precious object of excellence.